Hello and welcome to the first episode, and what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about Reaper Bones. I'm T-Rob Brown. I'm the editor of MidwestGamingNews.com, a almost 20-year journalist professional, and we're going to talk about this great Kickstarter on Reaper Bones, and I got in on it. Thank goodness. It's pretty amazing. They're sitting out before me, but you can't see it right now because of the camera angle, but we'll get to that in a moment. Basically, if you missed out on the Kickstarter, what it was, well, first of all, if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, Kickstarter is a crowdsource funding system. It's a website, and you go there, and you can pledge money to help out, sometimes they're young companies. For instance, here's one. I know this is supposed to be about Reaper, but this one's called Boss Monster, and I backed this on Kickstarter, and it's a pretty cool one. And what it is, it's a 8-bit card game where you basically you build a dungeon, and you run heroes through your dungeon to kill them off, and whoever kills the most heroes wins. You're trying to get to 10, but the first person, it's even got real tokens in there. You can hear them jingle. And but anyway, the retail version will look like this. So very Nintendo 8-bit style there. But this is the limited edition Kickstarter one. Anyway, but that's an example of something that I backed on Kickstarter. And basically what you do is you put up money up front, and instead of backing a company financially in the respect that you expect a financial kickback, you get you get rewards for the level that you kickstarted them at, that you backed them. Here's another one I backed called the Duke. This one took forever to get in, but it is a really cool game. It's by Catalyst Labs. Oh, I forgot to mention that Boss Monster is by Brotherwise games, and these are both coming out soon to retailers. They're not quite out yet, but they're due really soon, I do believe. And the Duke is a tile-based game, kind of like chess, but a whole lot better. So anyway, those are examples of a couple of the Kickstarters I backed. I'm going to go ahead and do other videos with more detail on those. I did do an article on the Reaper Bones and some of the other projects. I don't think I covered Boss Monster or the Duke on that. But most of you are probably familiar with Reaper. For instance, if you go to your local gaming store, you probably see these. This is a Reaper Legends. This is a Tiefling caster here, and is your basic Reaper mini. It's a metal miniature, and Reaper minis, they're pretty much the big dog in metal minis these days. I remember when I first got started in gaming, Ral Partha was the big name, and Reaper kind of came along and took over, and Ral Partha doesn't seem to do quite as much anymore. You still see some of their minis from time to time, but they definitely don't have the market saturation that Reaper does. And Reaper does a great job. I love their molds, I love their sculpts. I think that some of them just have great flowing capes. I've seen some with assassins leaping up in the air with the cape holding them up, coming down with their daggers, and they're just really amazing. They do great work with these. So anyway, but even this particular one here, they've made a Reaper Bone. What Reaper Bones are is they are a plastic miniature. Here, let me just get one to show you. For instance, here is the Griffin. The Griffin it's cast in white, and that's what the wings in. I don't have them glued in. This is just to kind of show you what it looks like, and basically, if you look though, I don't know how close this will focus, but look at that detail. I mean, there's quite a bit of detail on that. For a plastic miniature, that's pretty rare. But yeah, I backed this, and I got a lot of Reapers. I mean, a lot of Reapers. And these things are pretty cool. I'm knocking the wings out because you don't want to glue them in until after you get your paint work done. And I'm not an expert painter by any means, but this is my motivation to do it. what they had was they had a vampire level on Kickstarter, and it was $100, and you could get in. And at first, I think seems like it was like 40 miniatures at first, which wasn't bad, you know. These miniatures retail, well, like the metal ones are anywhere from like $4 to $8, unless they're a bigger one, like a troll or something. Then they start going up, and of course the dragons are 40 to 100 and something if it's a really massive dragon. Metal is not cheap, right? And so these Reaper Bones, though, are cheaper to produce, but it costs a lot to get the molds done up front. And Reaper said, well, we're only going to be able to do X number of minis this year, which I think it was like 12, or they could do 40 if they got the basic minimum Kickstarter backing that they asked for. And I was like, okay, well, that's pretty cool. You know, normally it's smaller companies like Brotherwise Games, who did the Boss Monster. Normally it's a smaller company like that that's trying to get a start, and your goal is to help them kickstart their business, kickstart a project. I've helped novelists get their books printed. I've helped the people that do the gamers get the Gamers 3, the new movie, help them get that going, because I was a fan of the first two, plus their Journey Quest and everything else. They go on there and they ask for a certain amount of money, and a small amount, and sometimes it's a bigger amount. It just depends. And but you can usually back at different tier levels, and you pick the one that A, you can afford, and that B, offers the rewards that you would like to get. There's also another site called Indiegogo. I've never used it. I've been on it. I've looked around, but most of the people that I'm fans of kind of go with Kickstarter. It seems to be the one the gaming industry has really picked, and a lot of novelists have picked it, and so on and so forth. How about let's start off with a really cool one. Toward the end of the Kickstarter campaign, they offered, well, throughout, but toward the end they had some really awesome ones, but all throughout, if you upped your bid by $7, you could get these extra minis. If you upped your bid by $10, you could get this cool big mini or whatever. And one of the ones toward the end, actually I believe it was the very last mini, was Cthulhu. Let's take a look at Cthulhu here. Keep in mind, these are not painted. This is just loosely put together, no glue yet, because I haven't painted them. This is Cthulhu. See how big he is? This was a $10 add-on. This would probably be at least a $50 mini retail. I haven't looked up the retail on this one, so I don't know for certain. But I mean, if you're a fan of Lovecraft or just monster fantasy in general, I mean, this thing, he looks like he could just be coming right out of Pacific Rim there at you. Fight your Jaeger, right? That movie's great, by the way. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Anyway, pretty cool. I mean, he's vicious. He's big. For scale, this is a human-sized mini. This little guy is human-sized. Oops, facing toward the camera. This is kind of like a grave or undertaker, excuse me, or something like that, like a grave digger. And see how little he is. He's just right here next to him. He doesn't even come up to Cthulhu's knee. Cthulhu is massive. And if you're not familiar with gaming minis, which a lot of people are, this is considered to be a medium-sized mini, this little guy, because it's average. It's a human-sized mini. And then there are tinier ones, of course, like familiars and halflings and stuff like that are still medium-sized. But anyway, then there are huge minis, which this griffin would definitely be a large or huge, probably huge. But this guy's what we call colossal or close to it. He's gargantuan probably. But I'm going to show you colossal here pretty soon. Anyway, pretty amazing. This guy comes in a retail box, actually. A lot of these came in just plastic bags, but he came in a retail box because, well, Cthulhu's something special, right? Let's see, what should we look at next? You can't see it, but there is just literally a table full of minis right in front of me. Let's look at the clockwork. This is a clockwork dragon. I think it was like an extra $10. And he's pretty amazing. He is a more brittle plastic. The wings are. The rest of him is what we jokingly have been calling bonesium. It wasn't glued in yet. Bonesium is a rubbery plastic material. As you can see, it's very flexible, very bendable. It's not going to break on you likely. I wouldn't stretch it beyond its, you know, full width than this one, especially since it's connected by smaller connections to give it that clockwork mechanical look, since it's not an organic dragon. But this one, of course, has armor plating on it. The armor plating is actually a thick, hard plastic, as opposed to what all the others are, which is what we've jokingly been calling bonesium in the forums. There's a wide variety of dragons in this thing. I mean, for Dungeons and Dragons players, this thing is amazing, and Pathfinder players too. Trust me, Pathfinder even has some exclusives in here that are, you know, right out of the Pathfinder Iconics or some of the minis, and then some of the large ones. For instance, this is a Pathfinder dragon. For those of you who are Pathfinder fans, this is a large red dragon. Of course, he's not red yet because I haven't painted him, but look at that detail. I don't know if you can see it too well. Look at that skull he's standing on. That is just really cool. He is ready for... He's pretty big. He's not as big as Cthulhu. I mean, he's maybe comes up to Cthulhu's waist, so Cthulhu would probably wipe the floor with him, but he's still pretty cool. And he would scare the crap out of most adventuring parties, unless they're epic level or something serious. Was that some of the minis were molded in a specific color. Here is the large fire elemental. Check that out. Molded in clear, translucent orange, red. Anyway, it's really cool looking. I mean, he is neat. And he's pretty good size. He's definitely what you would call a larger, huge mini. They had several that were molded in translucent. This one here, you can't really see any detail because of the red or orange, but this is basically kind of like a fire elemental female. She's got like wings or something. I don't know. At first I thought she was kind of like a succubus, but she's more demonic. I don't know. Anyway, from heroes to villains to monsters for your players to defeat, just about anything you can think of. There's about 4 of them that are molded in this green translucent. But look at that. Oh, it looks really cool in the light there. But check that out. It's pretty cool. But yeah, that's like a ghost or a spirit, a phantasm. Anyway, he is very vicious looking. You have everything from fantasy to pirates. There are even sci-fi and zombie hunting parties. For instance, here is a sci-fi one. This is kind of neat. This is a big gorilla, an ape, with a Gatling gun for an arm, if you can see that. That is just crazy. Big old power fist and a Gatling gun. But yeah, he's pretty interesting. There's so much. It's hard to tell where to start with this stuff. I mean, these things are amazing. You have to see Caladrax Reborn. What an amazing deal, though. Caladrax Reborn is a giant undead skeleton dragon, and with the diorama base and everything. And he comes with this female here. Now, not in the box. She was given to the Kickstarter folks as an add-on to go with Caladrax. She's Caladrax's assistant, is what she was described on the Reaper website. This is Caladrax, if you can see him there without all the other stuff. Look at that detail. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's neat. It's gargantuan. I mean, see her? That's a human-sized mini down there for scale. His wings are massive. His tail is... And he was only $10 in the Kickstarter. Retail is supposed to be, I think, $75 was what I read on the website.